So this is just a bit of a test to see if we can be a wee bit more inclusive when we are doing some seed sowing. So my learners have sight impairment, and I figured, well, if my Nana Steele could do a full Sunday dinner, cataracts, then I'm sure we can do some seed sowing with a little bit of reasonable kind of adaptations. I don't want to make people feel different. You know, everyone should be able to do roughly the same thing, you know, to the same standard. All it needs is just a level playing field. So hopefully this is going to do it. Now, obviously, I'm going to flip this up so you can see I've got glasses on. Take them off. Okay. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to wear that because otherwise it's a bit of a cheat, really, isn't it? So I'm going to see what I can do. So I've never tried it. So we'll see if we can sort of get any feedback from it. So I'll flick that down because I can just about see without my glasses. So I've got that on, and you can see. So, contrary to popular belief, most people who, you know, they have some level of light and shade, etc., and they can also use contrast, so they can see different things like that. So, and when I've talked to people before, they can say, "Well, I can see kind of some bits." So this would, to me, would sort of have a fairly poor kind of level of sight, so it's quite scary. I've never done this before without sort of being able to see it, so you can kind of feel how lost you are. But imagine if I was, you know, a learner and a tutor said to me, right, I want us to do some seed sowing, and I put everything in the tray that you're going to use. So we've got a dustpan of compost. Now the compost, dustpan, internationally recognised quantity of compost. We're going to use, and also as I feel around, there's a tray, and in that tray you've got my press board, which we're going to use in a seed tray, and we've got my new latest invention, which we're hopefully going to use that to guide the seeds in, sort of almost like a jig, really. So I would figure that, you know, if I give someone everything in one tray, then what you could do is you could put it where you can kind of reach it and get to it. Now, a couple of things I can just notice in the corner, because there's a seed tray, and the reason is I've clipped a little bit of yellow tape, because I was told that yellow against the darker background is a really good contrast. Excuse the cockerel, he's just giving me some moral support here. Now, so this is our seed tray. Now, a seed tray is one of their mushroom pots, which you get from that supermarket. Okay, I'll put little markers in the corner so I can kind of, because if I kind of move my eyes and visors, I can see a tiny bit. So I know that care of the guy I'm doing it for, he's got no sight in one eye and it's a bit hit and miss in the other to a certain extent. I'm also using some other things as well. So when I'm going to do this kind of real time, so I'm going to use spinach seed, because there's no point in doing a peer limitation. We want the real deal. So, but what I've done is I've put the seeds in so you can hear them. Obviously, you know, you can use those, and I've got it in a dish, so that you've got a bit of contrast as well. So as the seeds move around, I can kind of feel them and kind of see them. So I'm going to put those to one side as well. Okay. So there's my tray. So other things I've got, I can have a feel around. So this is my it's not a striking stick. So when we put the compost in, I can level it off. So we've got, so the person with needs a bit of a hand with the old sight there. They'll be doing exactly the same as somebody with regular eyesight. So there'll be no difference. So if this was a City and Guilds assessment, as far as I'm concerned, if I can sow a seed like this, I'd let it ride. So the thing to do is we'll just put the seed tray out the way a little bit there. I'll tip it. Yes, I will. I'm on it. So I'll tip the compost out the way. Okay. So you're going to still need to mash the compost to get the lumps out, which you can do by feel, which is easy enough. Any of the big humpity bumpities you get rid of. Okay. Now there isn't going to be really a time limit. The only time limit I've got is the fact that you're watching it and it's on a video, so I don't know if it'll work. So now I've got all the big umpity bumpities out of my compost. Right. Now that works. And then we just move that tray in the centre a bit. Now obviously, like I said, I've got a seed tray and I've got the little sort of yellow, my little hazard tape, courtesy of COVID lockdown. We have to have tape 2 meters even. So I used this up, so I'll use the edge of the thing there so I can see. So if I've got one hand on the tray, the pot than I can see. Okay. Now I know you can get all sorts of fancy gizmos and doodads to help people with sight to get them best at what they're doing. But generally, I think just a bit of thought really. Now I've told people you don't firm the compost down, because if you firm the compost down, then you know it's going to cause problems. However, if we put plenty of compost in the first place, so I can see this bar with a bit of a yellow blur, but I'll feel it. So I can actually feel that if it's across the pod, I can feel it. Okay, so I know then it's level. See, so I don't have to worry about it. So, and I can just draw the bar across like that, and then I can feel again. Now the thing is, I can actually see these bits of yellow tape there. So if I can, oh, there's a few bits of, just gently, I can feel if there's any sort of imperfections in the tray, and I'll just do it again. The thing was, that's probably nothing to do with the fact that you couldn't really see where the compost was going. It's the fact that the compost is rubbish and it's full of lumps. So this stick we'll put to one side. Now I've remembered where I put some of my trays. So the next thing is my press board. So this press board, obviously that's the top, and again put my little hazard tape in, and I can locate it. So all I can see is like a bit of a yellow blur here, but I can do it by fingers and feel. Now I tell people how much to put on. If you push this down and you feel with your fingers how level it is when it's level across, so you can do it by feel. So that's how you know the compost is bang on. Okay, so I know then that's perfectly level, perfectly straight, ready to roll. This is the fun bit because I've never used this. So I made this just as a jig, and it should just fit on the top like that. So I know, and as I roll my fingers across, I can feel where it is. The idea is that you drop the seed in, and you just give it a little bit of a nib in with your little piggy as you go along. So now again, I can hear them and I can see them. The difficulty is I'm a bit arthritic with my fingers, but I think I can do it. So I'll put one in there. One in there. The thing to do is to fill all the holes up first. Right, one in that one, because I can feel where they are. One in that one. Talking to Kevin, he said, I can do seeds from my allotment, he said. Carrots are a problem. Well, for those of you who don't know, sowing carrot is like trying to sow pepper. It's like dust, you know. But this is the thing, so I can hear and I can kind of see. So if I think I can see one, see the contrast, see the yellow, I can pull a seed across and I can just about make it out. Right. There. So the City and Guild criteria say that as long as the seeds are sown, you know, to a reasonable standard, because I'm looking for fairly consistent. Right? So they're all roughly, I say roughly spaced. That's because I can't drill stuff. But I can kind of feel where that is. I can kind of. It doesn't matter if there's two in really, because it's spinach. So, and then if I just give that a little bit of a one in there. Just work my way across, work my way down. That one, that one. It's a weird sensation, you know. I've never done it like this before. And you kind of have to think a little bit. Now, so ideally what that's done is as the seeds on the surface, as I push down with my pinky, it's keyed it onto the compost. So now what I can do is I can pick that off. Now, the thing was that I need a bit more compost, so this is where I'm compost right. I think what I'll do is I'll just grab a big handful. Because again, you're not looking at exact quantities, you just think so. Right, okay, here we go. Now, for those of you who can cook reasonably well, I did explain to someone, they said, what do you do with the compost? How fine is it when you put it across the top of seeds? So I said, like, you know, if you just like you're doing scones, you know, you want enough on so that it pokes over the surface again. Because what you're going to do is you need to cover that seed, because if you don't cover it properly, and it doesn't matter how much you put on, okay, just have a bit of a feel. That is not to move the seed, but if it's over the top a little bit, so I'll get me stick. Same sort of deal. I'll take a thought, have a think about it, right? So I can kind of feel where it is, right? Gently, gently. Pull it across. What that will do, you can't just whip it across, because if you do, you'll drag the seed out. So you kind of got to saw it like you're sawing a bit of wood. All right. So now, I've got my seeds there. Incidentally, this compost here, if this was like an assessment, it may or may not have seeds in it, so you couldn't use it for anything else. Okay, as long as you're using fresh soil to cover it, if I was doing other spinach seed, won't be a problem. Okay. Now, speaking of problems, I've got to work out where I put my press button. In a minute. There it is. Again, I try and do things so, and I can see it and I can feel it. So you locate it. Now you just put the lightest of dabs in just to key it in. That's all you want to do. Okay. Now for watering it, okay. The thing was that most watering cans have got a good spread on them. So again, it's wondering how many or how much water. And I always tell everybody 3 elephants. Elephant is equal to 1 second. You know, like 1 elephant, 2 elephants, 3 elephants. And that's sufficient water. So again, we could water that somewhere out the way. So I've got no problem putting that somewhere. As long as the learner themselves, they've sown the seed. Okay, they've sown the seed. They've done it themselves. Labelling wise, I can scribe it, or we could use them dimply things. And if they said, well, if it's got 6 dimples on one side, Michael, that's spinach. And if it's got 2 dimples at the top, that's my like initials, and another couple of dimples on the bottom, and I can equate that to a date. And that's how that works. So that to me is how you could do a sight impaired, so that people can enjoy gardening as well. You know, there's no reason why you can't. So like I said, if my nana could cook us a Sunday dinner and she had cataracts and she could rip around the kitchen, she knew this. There's no reason why somebody couldn't enjoy their garden just as much as anybody with 20/20 vision. So anyway, we'll just have to see. I know that doesn't look too bad. So yeah, a bit of feedback would be good. Let's have a look here.